Pass the buck is an idiomatic expression that means shifting responsibility or blame to someone else instead of accepting it oneself. When someone passes the buck, they avoid taking accountability for a situation or decision and instead assign it to another person or group. This phrase is commonly used in informal conversations and often carries a negative connotation as it implies evading responsibility or trying to avoid the consequences of one's actions. The origin of the expression pass the buck can be traced back to the world of poker, a popular card game. In the 19th century, a buckhorn knife with a handle made from a buck's horn was often used as a marker or token to designate the dealer during a poker game. The responsibility of dealing the cards and managing the game would rotate among players, and when a player did not want to deal, they could pass the buck to the next person by giving them the marker. Over time, the term pass the buck began to be used metaphorically outside the context of poker to describe the act of passing on responsibility or blame to others. It became a figurative way of describing the act of avoiding accountability, much like how a player would pass on the responsibility of dealing cards to the next person in a poker game. In everyday life, people may encounter situations where individuals or organizations pass the buck. This can happen in various settings, such as workplaces, politics, family dynamics, or social interactions. When faced with a mistake, failure, or challenging decision, some individuals may attempt to shift blame onto others, refusing to take ownership of their actions. In the workplace, passing the buck can lead to a lack of accountability and decreased productivity. When team members avoid responsibility for their work, it can create a toxic work environment and hinder progress on projects. Effective teamwork and problem-solving require a culture of responsibility and open communication, where individuals are willing to address issues directly and take ownership of their contributions. In politics and public discourse, passing the buck can be a common tactic used by officials to distance themselves from controversial decisions or unpopular policies. Politicians may redirect blame to other parties or external factors to avoid facing criticism or negative public sentiment. To combat the tendency to pass the buck, fostering a culture of responsibility, honesty, and transparency is crucial. Encouraging open communication, constructive feedback, and mutual support within teams and organizations can help address issues promptly and effectively. In conclusion, pass the buck is an idiomatic expression that refers to the act of shifting responsibility or blame to others instead of taking ownership of one's actions or decisions. The phrase originated from the world of poker, where players would pass on the responsibility of dealing cards by passing a buckhorn knife to the next player. In daily life, avoiding accountability and responsibility can have negative consequences in various settings. Encouraging a culture of responsibility, open communication, and honest reflection is essential in fostering a sense of accountability and teamwork. By doing so, individuals and organizations can address challenges proactively and work towards positive outcomes.